Hello, good morning. My name is Tijani Onimisi. I'll be taking you Maritime Law. Again, my name is Tijani Onimisi. Sonny, I'll be taking you Maritime Law. Shall we begin? In Module 1, I want to talk about the historical background of maritime law in general. In Nigeria, the historical background of maritime law is closely tied to the country's colonial past and its evolution as an independent nation. Here is a brief overview. In the colonial era, during the colonial period, Nigeria was under British rule. Maritime law in the region was primarily influenced by British legal traditions. The British Admiralty courts and jurisdiction over maritime matters and laws governing shipping, trade, and navigation were applied in the Nigerian territory. What this means is that during colonization, during the time we're subjected to the British rule, the indirect rule system. That is history. I want to trace back to history, the period when this happened, when Nigeria began its own shipping business. The British Admiralty courts had jurisdiction over the maritime matters. Nigeria had no say. It was the British who had power, who had say, who make decisions over maritime matters. Nigerians had no business in this regard. Laws governing shipping, trade, and navigations were applied in the Nigerian territory. Post-independence, that's after independence, Nigeria gained independence from the British colonial rule. Of course, everyone knows this, on October 1st, 1960. In the post-independence era, Nigeria began to develop its legal system. That was when Nigeria felt that it is high time to begin to have our own legal system. We have some nationalists who traveled, who had education abroad, who came back home and felt that we should have our own ways of doing things and not being subjected to the British rule, our colonial masters, including maritime law, to suit its needs as a sovereign nation. The country enacted its own maritime legislation and established institutions to regulate maritime activities. This is self-explanatory. The normal government after independence will ensure we put in place the right attitude, right institutions to make sure that it have its own established areas of businesses, activities. Maritime legislation. The primary legislation governing maritime issues in Nigeria is the Merchant Shipping Act. There is a legislative body for every country, for every nation. For Nigeria, here is the Merchant Shipping Act. The Merchant Shipping Act addresses various aspects of maritime activities. Everything that has to do with shipping activities, that has to do with the sea, the seaports, is concentrated, is vested in the hands of the Merchant Shipping Act, which addresses all these activities, including ship registration, safety, the crew, those on board, the crew qualifications, and environmental protection. Over the years, there have been amendments and updates to the legislation to align with international standards and address emerging issues. Should there be any need for a change? Because the environment is dynamic, amendment is certain to come in. We have the adoption of international conventions. Nigeria, like many other maritime nations, is a party to various international conventions and treaties that regulate maritime affairs. We employed the services of the international body, international conventions, international practices to assist, to help in our own maritime affairs. These conventions cover areas such as safety at the sea, pollution prevention, and the rights and responsibilities of ship owners and seafarers. It covers areas, safety of the sea, safety at the sea rather, how safe are our ports on the sea. We have intruders, we have people who come around and distort and disturb the activities around the area, the seashore. Pollution as well. What are the efforts put in place to ensure that pollution is reduced or exterminated in the aspect of the sea? And the rights and responsibilities of ship owners and seafarers. The ship owners, what are their do's and don'ts? They are here to make money, fine. What are their do's and don'ts? There are legislations, there are conventions put in place to guard against such practice or practices. The establishment of regulatory bodies. This is highly essential. For any profession, for every institution, for every body, there must be a regulatory body. There must be an agency being set up or established by the government to cater for the needs. There must be a body, an institution that will regulate the activities of different establishments. An example of this is the NIMASA for the shipping industry or the maritime industry. Nigeria has established regulatory bodies to oversee maritime activities. The maritime industry in Nigeria, the body is called NIMASA, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. It's a key institution responsible for the regulation and promotion of maritime activities in the country. NIMASA plays a crucial role, pertinent role, important role in the implementation of maritime laws and ensuring compliance with international standards. It is the sole responsibility, it is the sole function, it is the sole aim and purpose of NIMASA to ensure proper, adequate implementation of guidelines in terms of maritime laws and ensuring compliance, strict compliance with international standards. NIMASA as a body in Nigeria caters for this. There are challenges, there are developments. Nigeria faces challenges in the enforcement of maritime laws, including issues related to piracy. Piracy is a big challenge, it's a huge one. Illegal fishing and environmental concerns. Efforts are ongoing to address these challenges through collaboration with international organizations and the implementation of comprehensive maritime security measures. There are challenges, there are developments in every institution, in every body, in every regulatory body or agency. In the maritime industry, they are faced with piracy, illegal fishing, and of course environmental variables, environmental concerns. What can be done to mitigate against such recurring attitude? What can be done to put an end to such a menace? Efforts are being put in place to address, to put an end to stop, to curtail these challenges through the collaboration with international organizations and the implementation of a comprehensive, a well-detailed maritime security measures that can be put in place to put an end to reduce, to curtail, to stop such challenges. In summary, Nigeria's maritime law has evolved from its colonial roots, with the country enacting legislation, participating in international conventions, and establishing regulatory bodies to govern and regulate maritime activities within its jurisdiction. With this being put in place, there should be a better solution. There should be a total end, a total eradication of such unwholesome practices, thus aiming towards having a better atmosphere for maritime practices. I want to talk about the Roman maritime policy. The Roman maritime policy, often associated with the Roman Empire, was a crucial aspect of the ancient Roman statecraft and military strategy. While the Romans are perhaps more famous for their achievements on land, their maritime activities played a significant role in their overall dominance and expansion. The Roman maritime policy, we want to look at how they were able to conquer, how they were able to strategize and put things in place in the aspect of their maritime industry. How they were able to get it done effectively, just without stepping unnecessarily on toes. One of it is, one, control of Mediterranean Sea. The Romans recognized the strategic importance of the Mediterranean Sea as a center hub for trade transportation, and communication. Their maritime policy focused on establishing control over this vital body of water. The Roman Navy, known as the Roman fleet, played a key role in securing Roman dominance in the Mediterranean. What part of their strategy was the total control of Mediterranean Sea, which is known for communication, which is known for the center or the central hub for transportation and trade. They made sure that their main focus is to have dominance over this vital body of water with their Roman Navy having the right caliber of people, skills on the sea, and they played a key role in securing such dominance. Next is the naval power for military supremacy. The Roman Navy was initially developed to combat piracy, which was a significant problem in the early days of the Roman Republic. Over time, however, the Roman Navy became a powerful tool for projecting military power and securing the empire's borders. Naval forces were employed in various conflicts, including the Punic Wars against Carthage. The second method they employed was the naval power for military supremacy. They were able to develop this strategy. Initially, they were meant to combat, reduce, curtail, put an end to piracy. With time, they became very powerful. They used that powerful tool to secure their borders. With their naval forces being put in place, they were able to combat and enforce dominance in terms of conflicts, among others. They were able to secure such territory and have complete domineering force over the area. Protection of trade routes. The Romans understood the economic importance of maritime trade. They aimed to protect and control major trade routes, ensuring the safe passage of goods and resources between different parts of the empire. This involved both military patrols and the establishment of naval bases. Essentially, what this means, they protected their trade regions, their trade territories. They dominated these areas by ensuring safe passage of goods and resources. They also involved the military patrols from time to time and established their naval base there. This was done to ensure free flow of transaction of goods and services. This was done to ensure the protection of their trade areas, routes, of their trade territory, to ensure that no stone is left unturned. Port development. The Romans invested in the development of ports. There was a huge development, huge investment in the development of ports, harbors, and naval bases along their coastlines and within key regions of the empire. These installations not only served military purposes, but also facilitated trade and commerce, contributing to the economic prosperity of the empire. They invested so much in the development of their ports, their harbors, where these ships are being kept, their coastlines, their naval bases, and every region of such empire. These do not only serve as a military purpose, but also forestalled, facilitated, led to trade and commerce, contributing to the economic prosperity of the empire. There was trading, there were transactions made, commerce and trade, buying and selling of commodities, resources, just to mention a few. The integration of naval and land forces. The Roman military strategy was characterized by the close integration of naval and land forces. This coordination allowed them to conduct amphibious operations effectively. The ability to transport troops and supplies by sea greatly enhanced the flexibility and mobility of the Roman military. Here, the integration of naval and land forces. They were able to do this. This was achieved by the flexibility and mobility of Roman military. Constant movement, regular checks, both land and on the sea, from time to time. They do their routine check, they do their daily check, they perform their regular checks, both on land and on the sea. They conducted a rigorous exercise for them to achieve their aims and objectives. The influence on legal systems. The Romans also developed legal principles related to maritime activities. The Rhodian Sea Law, also known as the laws of the Rhodians, is often attributed to the Romans and originated on the island of the Rhodes. This legal code addressed maritime issues such as shipwrecks, salvaging, and maritime commerce. Why not directly Roman? It influenced Roman maritime law and later developments in maritime law in general. The influence on legal systems. This is done with addressing some of the issues surrounding or affecting the entire system of maritime, such as shipwrecks, maritime commerce, just to mention a few. The legal ways of dealing with this, which was successful, and the maritime commerce trade, is one of their greatest achievements. It's influenced the Roman maritime law and later development in maritime law in general. In summary, the Roman maritime policy was multifaceted, encompassing military, economic, and legal considerations. The control of the Mediterranean Sea, protection of trade routes, development of ports, and integration of naval and land forces. All these were integral components of this policy, contributing to the overall success and longevity of the Roman Empire. In a nutshell, the Roman maritime policy is very wide. It is multifaceted. It encompasses the military, the use of the military, alongside the naval forces, the economic and legal considerations. They were able to control the Mediterranean Sea. They were able to protect their trade areas. They were able to develop ports and as well as integrate the naval and land forces. This contributed to the overall success of the Roman Empire. This is an achievement on the part of the Romans. Growth of English maritime power. The growth of English maritime power is a fascinating historical process that spans several centuries and is closely tied to the development of England as a naval and trading nation. Here are key factors contributing to the growth of English maritime power. We also want to talk about how England became successful in the maritime industry. The first year is the period called Anglo-Saxon period. During the early medieval period, the Anglo-Saxons engaged in coastal trade and fishing. The establishment of market towns and ports laid the foundation for maritime activities. However, it was not until the later medieval period that England started to emerge as a significant maritime power. What this talks about is the establishment of market towns and ports around the area in the period of Anglo-Saxons. This further engaged England, which gave rise to the emergence of maritime activities during that medieval period or era. Two, another basis for England's growth of maritime or English maritime power is the 100 Years' War. The 100 Years' War between 1337 to 1453 between England and France had a profound impact on England's military and maritime development. The English Navy played a crucial role in the conflict, and innovations such as the widespread use of longbows on ships, which contributed to England's naval success. The use of their longbows on ships, which made them have dominance over France in this instance, ensured the contribution of England's naval successes in this area. We have the Tudor period. The reign of the Tudor monarchs, particularly Henry VI and Elizabeth I, marked a significant period for English maritime power. Henry VI established the foundation of the Royal Navy, and Elizabeth I's reign saw the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588. A a key moment that solidified England's naval supremacy. This period has explained the Tudor period as the reign of the Tudor monarchs. Here, the two monarchs mentioned are Henry and Elizabeth. The establishment of the foundation of the Royal Navy and the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588 was a key moment that solidified England's naval supremacy. Next is the naval innovations. During the Tudor period as well, there were significant innovations in naval technology. The introduction of larger, more powerful warships, known as race-built galleons, provided England with a distinct advantage at sea. These ships were well armed, well equipped, agile, and capable of both naval warfare and long-distance exploration. They were able to develop a technology. They were able to build more powerful, bigger, and larger warships. This gave them an edge, a distinct advantage. These ships that are more powerful and larger in size were well armed, were well equipped with arms. They are agile and are capable of long-distance exploration and naval warfare. This is one of the factors that paved way for the growth of the English maritime activity or activities. Also, maritime exploration. English maritime power was further enhanced through exploration and colonization. Explorers like Sir Walter Raleigh and Sir Francis Drake undertook voyages to the Americas and around the world. The establishment of colonies and the trade routes contributed to the growth of England's economic and maritime influence. England or English maritime power was further enhanced through exploration and colonization during the colonial era. During colonization and exploration, we have two individuals, Sir Walter Raleigh and Sir Francis Drake, who undertook voyages to the Americas and around the world to establish a colony, treaty, trade areas, trade routes. These and many more contributed to the growth of England's economic and maritime influence. Mercantilism and trade. The mercantilist policies of the time encouraged the accumulation of wealth through trade. England's maritime power was closely tied to its growing merchant fleet, which engaged in trade with various parts of the world. The establishment of trading or trading companies such as East India Company facilitated global commerce. Mercantilist policies, as at then, encouraged the accumulation of wealth through trade. They made huge wealth, money, and this dominance, power, was closely tied to its growing merchant fleet in terms of trade with various parts of the world. And this led to the establishment of trading companies. The establishment of these trading companies through the mercantilist policies as at then facilitated global commerce. Wars and continental powers. Conflicts and continental powers, particularly during the wars against the Dutch in the 17th century, led to further developments in naval strategy and technology. The English Navy adapted and adopted successful Dutch naval practices, contributing to the evolution of naval tactics and ship design. This was achieved with the war against the Dutch in the 17th century. And this further ameliorated the development in the naval strategy and technology of the English. They adopted and adapted some of the successful Dutch naval practices. And this contributed to the evolution of naval tactics and ship design that can be used in warfare or in times of war to have continental power or dominance. We also have Act of Union with Scotland. The Act of Union in 1707, which unified England and Scotland to create the Kingdom of Great Britain, allowed for greater pooling of resources and coordination in maritime endeavors, strengthening the naval power of New Kingdom. The act of the union between England and Scotland to create the Kingdom of Great Britain, which allowed for the pooling of resources, coordination, organization, and the likes in maritime activity, further strengthening naval power of the New Kingdom. In essence, all what we are trying to say in summary about the growth of English maritime power was a complex process influenced by military conflicts, the technological innovations, the exploration and trade, the development of a powerful navy, successful exploration and colonization, and a strong merchant fleet. All these are key components that collectively contributed to England's rise as a dominant maritime power. They were able to make use of what they had alongside that of the Dutch, the combined forces. They were able to make use of the good aspects by the Dutch, the naval tactics, the successful Dutch naval practices. They were able to imbibe such, utilize them successfully to further gain prominence, dominance in terms of trade, warfare, among others. When next we'll meet, we're going to talk about the difference between Admiralty and Maritime Law. We shall start from here. When next we meet, difference between Admiralty and Maritime Law. Thank you for listening.